Today, we're going to dive into the story of Suleiman and the ants. It's this incredible, timeless tale about a forgotten man whose smallest act of kindness ends up creating ripples he could have never imagined. It really makes you think about the immense power hidden in those little gestures that nobody else even sees. And this one line, right here, it tells you everything you need to know about our protagonist, Suleiman, before we even get into his story. This is a man with a deep sense of dignity. A man whose self-respect is worth more to him than even a meal. That's the core of who we're about to meet. So this is really the big question at the heart of the whole story. And it's something we've probably all wondered about at some point, right? Does that small thing you do, the one nobody sees, does it actually matter? Well, Suleiman's journey is going to give us a pretty powerful and honestly unexpected answer. All right, so our story starts in this forgotten corner of the world, a place of complete solitude where it feels like time itself has just kind of worn out. This was Suleiman's entire world, day in and day out. I mean, just picture it. He's living in this rundown hut, basically forgotten. His wife had passed away years ago, and his only son, well, he left to find work and just never came back. All that was left was this deep, profound silence and loneliness. So how did he get by? His work was humbling, to say the least. Every single day, he'd go out and collect these dried, discarded scraps of bread. He'd clean them up and sell them as animal feed for just a few coins. It was tough, grueling work, but you know what? It was honest, and it let him hold on to that self-respect. But being poor wasn't his only struggle. You'd think people might feel for him, but no. Instead of compassion, his community gave him cruelty. They'd whisper about him, make fun of him, and just look at him with total contempt. So he wasn't just poor, he was a complete outcast. But even in all that crushing loneliness, a connection was about to be made. And it wasn't some big dramatic event. It was this quiet, almost invisible moment that was about to change his life forever. One day, inside his little hut, he notices a colony of ants. And he doesn't see them as pests. He sees a reflection of himself. He saw their constant work, their endless search for food, their shared struggle just to get by, and his heart just filled with empathy. So what does he do? He goes over to this little rusty box and pulls out his very last bit of coarse sugar, the stuff he'd been saving for a day when things got truly desperate. And without even hesitating, he offers it all to the ants, just laying it gently in their path. In that moment, something really shifted inside him. For the first time in what felt like forever, he felt like he had a purpose. He felt needed. He felt like his life actually mattered, even if it was just to this tiny colony of ants sharing his home. But as the old saying goes, sometimes no good deed goes unpunished. This beautiful private moment of kindness was about to be twisted into a public spectacle of pure humiliation. See, his neighbor, a guy named Salim, was spying on him, and he just couldn't understand this act of kindness. So what does he do? He runs to the village market and tells everyone that old Suleiman has finally lost his mind. The story just spread like wildfire. He became a joke, the mad old man who talks to ants. And those words, they hurt more than any hunger ever could. He was absolutely heartbroken. So Suleiman just retreated completely, locking himself in his hut. He'd only dare to go out at night, under the cover of darkness, just to avoid all the taunts and the stares. But right here, at the absolute darkest point of the story, something mysterious starts to happen. Just when Suleiman has hit rock bottom, help arrives from the most unexpected place you could possibly imagine. A really brutal winter hit. His roof was leaking, it was freezing cold, and he was completely out of food. He was starving. But in his darkest hour, he looks over and sees the ants. And they weren't hiding from the cold, they were digging like crazy, with this frantic energy. They were bringing up these tiny little grains of a strange reddish soil he'd never seen before, making a little mound. What on earth were they doing? What was making them work so hard in the dead of winter? So he's curious, and he still feels this strange connection to his little friends, so he decides to help them out. He grabs a wooden stick and starts to gently clear the soil with them. And then, clink, he hits something solid that makes a distinct, hollow sound. With his hands trembling, he digs a little more and pulls out this old clay jar sealed tight with wax. It was small, but it felt as heavy as iron. He breaks the seal, tilts it, and out pours the stream of ancient gold coins, gleaming like little pieces of the sun in the darkness of his hut. But finding the treasure wasn't the end of the story. Oh no, it was a brand new beginning. Because the gold wasn't just a reward, it was a test. Maybe an even harder test than poverty. What would a man who had nothing do now that he had everything? His plan was just incredible. He didn't change his clothes, he didn't change his hut. Instead, he secretly went to a faraway city and sold just 1 coin. With that money, he bought a ton of food and supplies. Then he paid a merchant to deliver it all in the middle of the night to the poorest families in his own village, never letting anyone know who it was from. And you can imagine the village was buzzing. Everyone was talking in awe about this mysterious, generous person who was leaving food on their doorsteps. And the irony is, they never once suspected that their secret savior was the mad old man they had just been making fun of. Months go by. Solomon keeps up his secret charity, even builds a little place for poor travelers to stay. Then, one rainy night, this broken man in tattered clothes stumbles in. Solomon goes to offer him a bowl of soup, and their eyes meet. It was his son Khalid, finally home after all those years, completely defeated and in ruin. After a tearful reunion, Suleiman finally tells his son everything. He shows him the treasure, and he leaves him with this incredible piece of wisdom. He says wealth doesn't come from being clever or strong. It comes from places you can't even imagine, when your intention is pure and your hand is always ready to do good. What a lesson, right? The real measure of our wealth isn't what we have, but what we give away, especially when no one is watching.